The time is exactly 16 minutes after the hour of 1 o'clock. My name is Kelvin Chiringa, and thank you so much for joining us right here on the program. Effectively, we start with the program titled The Conversation. We are here until 2 o'clock. Now, Namibia's dream of creating a synthetic energy hub is going full steam ahead, with the cabinet giving the thumbs up to the planned 10 billion Namibian dollar green hydrogen project on Namibia's shores. Now, President Hage Geingob has been on the forefront of the drive, highlighting that it will create employment and ramp up much-needed foreign investment. But is the flagship green hydrogen project Namibia's next big thing? We're just about to find out.
Namibia's plans of creating a synthetic energy hub is rolling full ahead, with cabinet giving thumbs up to the planned 10 billion Namibian dollars green hydrogen project off the country's shore.
So far, I've heard about it, but I don't know what it is actually. But I heard that it makes money. It makes money out of it, but that's all I know about it. So I can't tell a lot.
And would you want the government to explain to you more on what this green hydrogen
thing is? Please, I would love that. I would love them to do that because, since I don't know, and they are the one that has to let us know about it or to teach us more about it. Yeah.
I don't know much about green hydrogen and environmental crises, for that matter, unfortunately.
So you haven't heard anything about the government jumping on the green hydrogen project to not only make a lot of money from this, but also to create jobs for the country and for Namibians at large?
No, not in the aspect of green hydrogen. No, I haven't heard.
Would you want to find out more about this?
Yeah, definitely. I don't like to not know stuff, and I'm like, why am I so behind? So definitely.
I heard it's good for the earth, and it's I heard it's good for the earth, and it's also providing people with jobs.
Have you heard about the government's initiative and projects around green hydrogen?
A little bit, yes, but not too much.
Talk to us about the little bit that you've heard about.
I just heard that they're doing it.
And would you want to find out more information about this?
Of course. It's green hydrogen. I'm a hippie and I love nature and stuff. So if we can help the earth as this much, then I'm down for it.
From what we understand, thousands of jobs are being promised from this green hydrogen project, this green hydrogen regime, on top of opportunities for Namibians to thrive in this type of environment. The question remains, how much do Namibians actually know about green hydrogen? How much do they know about the projects that are coming to the country? Who is involved? When does it start? Later, the conversation discusses whether Namibia should pin its hopes on these green hydrogen projects and see it as a future for financial stability and financial income for the country. Join the conversation on Thursday at 10 minutes past 1 in the afternoon on 95.3 FM. That is the frequency. Your alternative is desertradio.fm.
Those are the people on the street responding to whether they are aware or know what green hydrogen is all about. Now, Geingob believes that this project needs support rather than criticism. However, the drive for a future hinged on synthetic energy in Namibia has not been welcomed by everyone. Some feel it's a pie in the sky, while others say not enough information is available out there. Now, some have warned that the initiative may go on to benefit only a few connected individuals right here in Namibia. Good afternoon. My name is Kelvin Chiringa, and this is The Conversation. I am at this particular point joined by the Green Hydrogen Commissioner, James Mnyupe, from Germany via Zoom. And, Mr. Mnyupe, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Kelvin. So good to be back on Desert Radio to talk about this interesting and developing new industry that we're trying to put together for you.
That's all right. We are honored to have you right here on Desert Radio. And at the same time, we are joined via Zoom again by economist Natangue Shafudah, who is the project's coordinator at Namibia Green Hydrogen Research Institute, otherwise known as the NGHRI. And Mr. Shafudah, good afternoon to you, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, Kevin. Good to have you, and I look forward to a good conversation.
That's right. We appreciate your presence, Dr. Shafudah. Equally, we are joined right here in the studio by lawyer Stefanie Busch, the Vice President of the Environmental Lawyers Network of Namibia. Ms. Busch, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Good afternoon, Calvin. Thank you
so much for having me.
That's all right. I'd like you to just make sure that your mic is closer to your mouth so that our listeners are able to hear what we are talking about here. We are talking everything green hydrogen. And to start off the program, let's, of course, get right into the questions that we have for our panelists here. And Mr. Mnyupe, we just want to start with you because you represent the structure that is at State House, where, of course, you are the special advisor to the president on matters to do with green hydrogen. The very first question I have for you, Mr. Mnyupe, is this the real deal for Namibia? And how optimistic are you that this is the answer to the economic crisis that we have of unemployment, as well as beating back the unemployment numbers here in Namibia?
Yeah, Kelvin, thank you so much for that question. I mean, let's be honest and practical about it. This is not the answer. It is a plethora of answers. It is a portfolio of answers, right? So this particular solution was described in HPP2 back already on the 18th of March 2021. It was presented in Parliament back then already, and it was always presented as one of many different things that government was going to do to try and stoke economic recovery, right? So whether it was this, whether it was getting together a sovereign wealth fund, trying to help SMEs grow, trying to invest in strategic infrastructure. So it's very important, of course, that we recognize that this is one of many things that President Gengo put forth as potential solutions to try and help our economy go forward. But, of course, it is large, it is potentially significant, and it has had a uniquely, idiosyncratically large impact on Namibia's global standing as well. So there's no hiding from that.
That's all right. I'd like to pass the very same question to you, Dr. Shafudah. Is the green hydrogen project the silver bullet? Because if we take a look at the way and the manner in which the president is selling this project to Namibia, talking about beating back against the demons of unemployment, growing our economy that for the longest time has been suffering subnormal growth, and actually attracting that foreign direct investment. Is green hydrogen a silver bullet?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think for us to understand the potential for green hydrogen, we first have to understand what comes out of hydrogen. So in nature, most of the chemicals and the fuels are made of hydrogen. So let me first just abandon the word green. So most chemicals that we already use or we have been using, they are attached, or there is a bonding or that is bonded to hydrogen. So in other words, if you want to make a chemical synthetically, making it yourself, so you need hydrogen. So for this matter, we cannot just use any hydrogen like black hydrogen or brown hydrogen, because that is not considered environmentally friendly. And because after after Paris Agreement 2015, many world nations, they realized that using chemicals that are polluting in the atmosphere is not good. Of course, that's where the start of the green hydrogen has started. So all the chemicals that we know, most of them, methanol, be it aviation fuels, be it ammonia, the chemicals that we use, they are made out of hydrogen.
All right.
So it's indeed, yeah.
All right. So, of course, you are breaking down what green hydrogen is. I'm sure you are responding to the questions, or rather to the demonstration of lack of knowledge that we have seen from those few Namibians that we put in that box pop. The question then,
this is a collection of 54 beautifully designed.
All right. Okay. I think there was some feedback there. Dr. Shafudah, if you are still with us, I know that you were trying to unpack what green hydrogen is. The question is this a silver bullet?
Yeah, considering the position where Namibia is, we have seen a lot of, my thinking is, if this project is handled very well, it could be the silver bullet as you put it. But we also have to be cognizant that we have seen a lot of projects that came in future. I mean, before that, we talk of mining, but the benefit has not been that much to the nation. But for this project to really give us the fruits that we need to handle it carefully. And it's good that we need to educate ourselves so that we try to find opportunities where we can fit, including our business community.
That's right. Okay, so I'm just about to redirect this question to the lawyer that we have, Stefanie. Just let me know if you are now cool with your headphones there. All right. Okay. So, Stefanie, is there a legal framework in Namibia to make sure that Namibians can benefit from the synthetic energy hub that the green hydrogen project will create in future?
Well, at the moment, there is no legal framework as yet, and that is not uncommon. It is a worldwide phenomenon. So what we're doing right now, or how any project can operate, is that you take a few of residual pieces of legislation and you will piece together all the parts of this green hydrogen project. So you'd start with desalination, so that is the Water Act. Then generation of renewable energy, Electricity Act, and so it goes on. So there are pieces of legislation that deal with each aspect, but not holistically as a whole industry. And that is something that the legislature will be working on, and James would have more updates in that regard. But what would have to be considered, there's two manners of ensuring that Namibians benefit, and that through now legislation. So firstly would be the development of a local content kind of policy. So local content can look at local ownership, employment, procurement, or knowledge transfer. And that's then where the legislature would have to consider how do they develop that policy in such a way that Namibians will benefit, but also looking firstly at the practical realities of Namibia. Like, do we have what we would then be requiring companies to fulfill? And also, would it make the project non-profitable because local content, certain local equipment might be more expensive. So then you might actually disincentivize, so investors might not come in. And then the second point is, and that is something that has already been being looked at, is the Sovereign Wealth Fund. So right. the Welwitschia Fund was established, and there is a Sovereign Wealth Fund bill that is currently open for public comment. And it does look at the establishment of two funds. So you would have the Intergenerational Fund, which is very much linked to the one, or it's based on the one that, for example, Norway has, where you would be using the resource revenue that is received and would be investing it elsewhere. Right. And only the interest that's generated from that actually gets put into the budget.
All right.
And so that just ensures, future generations. And then secondly, there's a stabilization fund also being contemplated. That just stabilizes the budget. So those are the two ways how legislation can assist in actually benefiting Namibians, that the industry benefits Namibians.
That's all right. Gentlemen, I want to throw this question to you. But of course, Mr. Mnyupe, if you can maybe start by attacking the question. The South has been home to many other projects, like the zinc project there, several mining undertakings in the diamond and gold space. And throughout the decades, there's been the same theme, the major concern that the local people on the ground have not been the major benefactors of these projects. How is the green hydrogen project any different, Mr. Mnyupe?
A very good question. And to be honest, this is something we've tried to be extremely intentional about in trying to make it different, right? So, for example, with the other projects, one would have really just gone about doing their environmental impact assessment, economic feasibility assessment, and they would have built the project. In this particular instance, when we advertised for people to apply to build this project in Namibia, we actually had very specific criteria that were looking to the developers, the bidders, people who would respond, to say how much of the labor would be Namibian labor, how much would be youth-orientated labor. So we started being a lot more targeted. And then after that, during the negotiations with the developers, actually after they submitted their bid, so it wasn't they submitted their bid and then they were allowed to build, they submitted their bid and then we engaged them in various issues to government. And 6 of those issues form part of a social economic development framework that has these 6 items. Employment, yes, the jobs, but skills development, local procurement, enterprise and supply development, so working with SME, supplementary infrastructure, building housing, building roads, and of course corporate social investment. And those 6 items would specifically mention an obligation for the developer to actually build, for example, supplementary infrastructure in Lüderitz and in Aus, right? Housing in Lüderitz and in Aus, obviously for the workers that would live in that area. We're looking at training facilities and youth, of course, broadly in Namibia, but again, we would also engage the developer on ensuring that regional people are, of course, employed. That's one. But two, now that we have signed the feasibility and implementation agreement, we're actually going to be going with the developer around the country, but also very specifically back to Lüderitz, to talk to the communities there about how they can get involved. We're going to be specifically working with the town council of Lüderitz, with the Karas Regional Council, or with the Hardap governors as well, to make sure that we're providing enough information and opportunities for the local communities to get involved. So, Kelvin, we're trying to be more proactive and more intentional. And of course, we're inviting for good feedback from the communities. And this is a part of the work that we're doing here on the radio station as well, advertising ahead of time that we're coming to try and inform locals, so that there's, of course, good ownership from a local and a regional perspective of these opportunities.
All right, Dr. Shafudah, you are listening there. Mr. Mnyupe says we are trying to be proactive, we are trying to be intentional as far as making sure that we make it a reality, that this project benefits the people on the ground. You have also consumed some media reports as of late, Doctor, where at the onset there were concerns already that the green hydrogen bursaries that were extended to young people to prepare for this particular endeavor have not really been that inclusive in terms of most of those bursaries going to the youth that are in the south. Can we be very confident of what Mr. Mnyupe is selling there?
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. What I can talk about the SASCA scholarship that was released last year. So of course I was part of the evaluation committee,
right?
That looked at who qualifies for the scholarship. So out of 1,000 plus people applied for this scholarship. It was very, very competitive. And 60 students who were going to pursue masters have been selected, and about 30 for TVET have been selected. So one of the requirement, or some of the requirement that have been really that we have been really looking at is we have been looking at the area of study that is related to hydrogen or green hydrogen for that matter. And another area that we have been looking at is maybe previous qualification in that area.
All right.
And there was no, in the last year call, there was no really a provision that says somebody must be from Kalas so that he can be selected.
But
of course, during our
if I can catch you there, Doctor, because Mr. Mnyupe is saying that we have to be deliberate, we have to be intentional, and if we are talking about local beneficiation and talking about local ownership of the project, then surely we should have a significant number of the benefactors of these bursaries really coming from the south. Is that not reasonable?
Yeah, of course, during our deliberation, during the selection committee, those cases usually comes up when we look at maybe boundary cases. Say you have two students, one is from the north and one is from maybe Karas, and then they have all the same qualification, the same point, let me say.
Right.
So in that case, you then opt to pick that student who is disadvantaged, for example. So that is usually where we look at. But just going into the selection and saying I'm going to look specifically for the person from Karas or from the south, we have not looked at it that way. So it only comes in when there are cases where things are level, and you can say, okay, maybe preference to the locals.
That's all right, Mr. Mnyupe.
But Kelvin,
yes, maybe you can come in.
Yeah, Sableef. Dr. Natangue is an extremely good professional and he's an implementer of a scholarship program, right? I think what I'm taking ownership for from a government perspective is we obviously help set the policies and or the rules, right, of this scholarship program in partnership with our colleagues from Germany and SASCO. So I think Dr. Natangue will obviously he will execute what we put forth. So the ownership really lies with us to say, look, we were in the first program, it was open, it was transparent, but the outcome, right, is something that we think we can do better. So for the next round, right, because it's not just one round, for the next round, we want to be a bit more intentional. We've gotten feedback not just from the communities, we also got a lot of feedback from the head of state and from a lot of principals as well, our members of cabinet. We got lots of feedback from our governors in the region. And so we said, look, maybe considering a quota to say, look, we're advertising for 100 and X percentage is actually reserved, right, for students or people who are looking for these opportunities from the communities and from that region. That is something that we're definitely considering. And look, we're humble enough to learn, right, from our first attempt. Our second attempt hopefully is better. Our third and our fourth should also be looking to improve on our second. So we're very humble to say, look, it was great. We got 94 students across the line. But for the second one, maybe we want to be more intentional about getting regional involvement, and maybe we will put a quota for that one.
All right.
Absolutely no problem with us admitting that that's what we want to do.
That's right. That's right. Definitely, it's a project. It's one that's rolling on. There are mistakes that will be made. Definitely, more and more mistakes should be made. And the most important thing is for you striving to be better each step you go up there. I would like to bring it back to our lawyer, Stefanie, right here in the studio there, gentlemen. Stefanie, what are the legal provisions for monitoring and enforcing compliance with environmental standards, especially as we carry out this green hydrogen project? If you can come in there.
Okay, sure. So the construction of any green hydrogen project will require a developer to obtain an environmental clearance certificate. So that is obtained through the Environmental Management Act. That will entail the developer appointing an environmental assessment practitioner who will conduct an environmental impact assessment and then set out an environmental management plan that will really set out the steps that the developer has to do in order to mitigate any environmental damage or mitigate as much as possible. And it is then based on that environmental management plan that the project will be judged, and the environmental clearance certificate can also be issued with conditions. So it is at that point where if a developer doesn't apply with comply with the Act or their conditions, that a compliance order could be granted against them. That being said, obviously, as working with the Environmental Lawyers Network of Namibia, we have engaged with some environmental assessment practitioners and just people in the industry, and there is a lot that can still be done with the Environmental Management Act. It is currently not very strong in certain aspects. So, for example, some critiques are that the monitoring role and the impact auditing could be enhanced. And from a practical level also, the question is, if we're having all of these projects, I mean, we're not talking only about green hydrogen, but oil and any industrial projects that might come off of this, is there enough capacity to have enough monitoring officers that can drive around this big country of ours to actually monitor the projects? So I think there's a lot that can still be done with the Act itself in order to just ensure that all of this industry that's now moving forward, that there will be compliance with proper environmental safeguards.
That's right. The time is 22 minutes to 2 o'clock. Of course, you are listening to the conversation right here on Desert Radio. We are in conversation all the way from Berlin, Germany. That's the Green Hydrogen Commissioner, James Mnyupe. And, of course, we are with Dr. Natangue Shafudah, who is the project's coordinator at Namibia Green Hydrogen Research Institute, and Stefanie Busch, who is the vice president of the Environmental Lawyers Network of Namibia. We'll just take a small break right now, and then we continue with the conversation. Is the green hydrogen project the next big thing right here in Namibia? All right, the time is 20 minutes to go to 2 o'clock. My name is Kevin Chiringa. Of course, we are with Mr. James Mnyupe, as well as Dr. Shafudah and Stefanie Busch, talking about green hydrogen. Is this Namibia's next biggest thing? And is this the healing shot in the arm of Namibia's ailing economy there? I'd like to come back to you, Mr. Mnyupe, in Germany. I'm pretty sure that if you were not watching your television yesterday. Possibly today you might have been given some detail into what played out in the National Assembly yesterday. The Parliamentary Standing Committee on Natural Resources Chairperson Chekero Twere stood up yesterday in the National Assembly, and together with the deputy leader of the Landless People's Movement, a party that does have a stronghold in the south where this project is, saying that this project seems to be secretive. With, of course, Chekero Twere saying that there is a structure at a State House that is not in sync with the Parliamentary Standing Committee here. Is the green hydrogen project a State House affair?
Kelvin, that news travels fast. So yes, I am sitting in Berlin at the moment trying to acquire some more support from Namibia to build this industry. We're talking to customers, legislators, etc., and I get told this news. So of course, I've now watched those proceedings. Humbly, I would really love to remind the Namibian public, and this is actually online. In fact, I think it's on your website, Kelvin. 15th of April, 2021. Yeah, it was the State of the Nation address in that year. Yeah, the president shared with all the members of parliament a document we all call the Harambee Prosperity 2. On the cover of that document, there is a green hydrogen molecule. Yeah? On page, I think it's 32, there is a long conversation. It's actually page 37, and that starts on page 35. The president goes into a lot of detail talking exactly about what it is that we're going to do to develop green hydrogen. On page 37, at the top left hand, he actually says that he will put together an interministerial, and I read, quote, an interministerial green hydrogen committee, and it'll be constituted in the first quarter. He goes on to talk about the development of the SCDI, etc. He told the public and parliament in a physical document, right? So this wasn't a secret. It was like the biggest news in the world for many people, right? Not only did he say that it was going to be put together and what hydrogen was, the members of that committee are from cabinet, right? They're not secret people in State House, yeah? The chairperson of that committee is the National Planning Commissioner, and the president articulated exactly why to the National Planning Commissioner, because he wanted him to help coordinate various portfolios from various ministries. The deputy minister, the deputy chairperson is the Minister of Mines and Energy, because of course there's a recognition that primarily there's an energy aspect of putting together green hydrogen, right? Over time, the president has increased that Green Hydrogen Council by bringing on board even members that don't even belong to government, like the Karas Regional Council chair, to help this interministerial committee to talk to the local communities. So, Kelvin, there's a cabinet committee on treasury, there's a cabinet committee on trade and economic development. Surely the president has a right to put together a group of ministers and task them with a specific goal in mind. And that then really concludes that answer. It wasn't secretive. I think one of the last things I'll say, Kelvin, if the members of the public go and watch the video on your website, 1 hour, 55 minutes in, Honorable Saibab actually tore HPP2 in Parliament. Do you remember that, Kelvin?
I do remember, but then how do you then account for the fact that the man on the ground doesn't seem to know what this is all about? I think you had the vox pop that we played there. Youthful Namibians saying that I don't really know what this is. I'm being told that it's going to bring money, but I don't know what baby or what creature it is.
So let's talk steps of your question. Is it shrouded in secrecy, and did the members of parliament not know about it? Not true. Yeah, let's deal with it. Not true. It was given to them in public. Some of them tore it, they didn't read it. So that's not true. Number two, is it run from State House? Not true, right? It is run by a cabinet committee or a collection of members from cabinet. Number three, some members of public don't know about it. True. Can the Namibian government do better to inform the man on the ground? Definitely. Have we said we want to do better? Yes. in the cabinet decision that was decision-making cabinet right before the execution of the FIA, cabinet actually said we need a strategic communication strategy to help a broader group of Namibians understand this project. And we've been tasked, the small people on the ground, people like me and others, we've been tasked to come up with a communication strategy. So that one is absolutely true. We can do better, no doubts about that, and we intend to do better. And a part of that, Kelvin, is for me to dial in from Berlin to talk to your listeners, to bring Natangue, to bring the lawyer to educate. And
That's
of course,
right.
that is not a once-off. We will continue to do that.
That's right, and we're thankful for that. Dr. Shafudah, I want you to come in there. We don't want you to be on the terrace. In the terraces, is this a secretive project? Why is it that the youthful Namibians, the vibrant energy is coming here on radio to say, I don't know what this is all about? Is it the fault of Mr. Mnyupe and his team, or is the fault of the young people that are not reading?
Yeah, I just want to add here that the Namibian government has also established the Namibia Green Hydrogen Research Institute.
Right.
The main aim is really to build capacity and educate people. So what we do at the institute, for example, we do master classes, targeted master classes, whereby the aim is really to educate people out there. We even go out there, Lutreds or wherever, to do these presentations. What is hydrogen? We even bought demonstration equipment, demonstrate how hydrogen can be produced and how it can be used. So I don't think it's a secret.
That's right. The Green Hydrogen Project is not a secret, contrary to what's coming from Chekera and the deputy leader of the Landless People's Movement. That's what's coming through there from Dr. Shafudah. And, of course, the Green Hydrogen man himself, James Mnyupe, all the way from Germany. I'd like to bring this to the lawyer in our studio, Stefanie. There, what are the key lessons, Stefanie, and insights that other countries or regions can learn from Namibia's legal approach to the Green Hydrogen Project? I'm asking this because Al Jazeera reported last year to say that the very first green hydrogen plant for 2024 is going to come from Namibia. Do you think that Namibia, from a legal perspective, stands in a position to act as an example of what can be done by other countries in the region?
Well, so at the moment, all countries are kind of learning as they're going, right? So Namibia was not any different. So given that Namibia has this amazing potential because of the solar radiation and just all of the factors that are needed are there. So the market was then considering and looking at, the Namibian government and seeing, will they be implementing legislation, because that is what is required for investor certainty. And so one of the steps that from the Namibian government side that then came was that last year they did publish the Green Hydrogen Strategy in November 2022. And that was a very positive step going forward, because it set down the certain goals that are to be achieved by 2030. So it talks about the creation of a fit-for-purpose piece of legislation, the establishment of an implementation authority office. So that's an office that will actually identify projects and help investors when they come in. And it also speaks to considering the establishment of special economic zones, local content, and dealing with conflicting land rights. So a lot of these issues, and knowledge transfer as well. So a lot of these issues that are required to be looked at are addressed in that strategy. We would then now just have to see how that will translate. Will there be specific targets set? Because obviously these policies, if they would need to be implemented, you would want to actually judge them against a certain target. But there are a lot of lessons that other countries and even the region can learn from Namibia. I think in the region, Namibia was also very strong first mover compared to South Africa. South Africa did now also publish their own strategy. So the region is catching up, but it's also about considering how a region can work together in ensuring a green hydrogen backbone, for example, in the SADC region.
That's right. Dr. Shafudah, there's been, or rather there is an article that the Namibian ran a few days ago talking about President Hage Geingob is not quite comfortable with criticism on the green hydrogen project. Then State House issued a statement to say that's not correct. The president does not bar people from criticizing this particular project. But when it comes to criticism, yes, of course, people do have freedom of speech. Do you think that the criticism is fair and constructive?
I think for us to make criticism, we must be able to understand the whole picture of the project. That's the only way we can give constructive criticism that really will help the country to go ahead. But what I have seen, most of the people, they do criticize while they don't even understand the project itself. So I don't think, I think the president has been criticized in many aspects, but at some point I don't think it's very fair, considering what the president's team is doing to educate the people. I think we Namibian people, we need to be appreciative sometimes. Look at, for example, the scholarships that they have come up with to train the young people so that they can be able to be equipped with the green hydrogen skills. So these are some of the initiatives that are really going a long way to help a Namibian child. And of course, we must understand why Namibia is hosting the green hydrogen project. We have good renewables, and we must make use of it. So if we keep quiet, what projects are we going to look at so that they can be able to bring income to the country? So the country is really need income, as we know, and we need to do something, and the president is trying his best.
That's right, Doctor. Thank you so much for enough there. Of course, if you're joining in right now at 95.3 FM, you are, of course, listening to the conversation. Of course, we are talking about green hydrogen. Is this Namibia's next big thing? And coming back to you, Mr. Mnyupe, of course, he is from Berlin right now via Zoom with us. The Namibian government, Mr. Mnyupe, obtained a 500 million euro concessional loan. We're talking about roughly 9 billion Namibian dollars from the European Investment Bank, the EIB, of which the details still have to be negotiated. Now, a further 5 million euros, talking about a 90 million Namibian dollars loan from the EIB to the government, still has to be specified. Now, the company Investment International provided 40 million euros. We're talking about 767 million Namibian dollars there for the green hydrogen development to be to the government. Now, the question is, how are we going to pay these monies back? How are we going to pay back these without mortgaging the future of the next generation? Mr. Mnyupe? All right, trying to see if we can reconnect with Mr. Mnyupe there. Of course, he's on Zoom with us, and our technology is really coming along the way to scuttle the progress that we're making here. But Dr. Shafudah, if you are maybe listening, I don't know if you're able to tackle this question. Are we able to pay back these monies without creating a debt burden for the next generation? All right, so it seems like we're just running into a technical fault there in terms of our Zoom. The time is, of course, 7 minutes to go to 2 o'clock, and still in conversation with the panelists right here on the program. The green hydrogen project has been slammed by the parliament, we saw yesterday, but in terms of legislation, Stefanie with us there, maybe as we are trying to reconnect with our colleagues there. At this particular point, we haven't seen any legal issues whatsoever as far as the green hydrogen project is concerned. Can you say that it has been so far so good up to this particular point?
So it is, I mean, okay, let me unpack that as well. So in terms of legal issues, the main consideration for any green hydrogen project, I know you're talking about the green hydrogen project, which is the hyphen one, but there's a lot of other ones that are being developed that might not be doing ammonia and so, but there are a lot of other projects. The main consideration always will be how will the project developer get rights to that land? Because it's all about land at the end of the day. And because of in Namibia we have a very the land regime is very, there's a lot of different pieces of legislation that will regulate the pieces of land depending where you are.
Right.
And that's where then this consideration has to come of how will the government grant rights to certain developers, and the questions about for how long, for what revenue. So it's considering, just because there's no legislation yet, how to deal with these first projects while we're waiting for legislation to come on hand. But these aren't, this isn't a matter that hasn't been dealt with before, right? So this is, you deal with it in terms of you have a natural resource contract, and from there onwards you just make sure that the rights are granted to the developer in a way that is also beneficial to the country.
That's right. And of course, as we are trying right now to reconnect with our panelists there, I see that Dr. Shafudah is reconnecting with us. Doctor, just be on standby with us there. Let's see if we can connect you right here on the program as we continue this conversation. Maybe I will just throw this question to you, Stefanie, as I connect to Dr. Shafudah there. We know that, we are creating an oil economy right now, and the future here in Namibia seems to be oil. And with this green hydrogen project coming through, do you think that it is time that our young people should be considering maybe pursuing programs like environmental law, understanding that the environment is going to be quite key in the future and right now?
No, definitely. So with all of these projects that are coming our way, with any industrialization, the issues relating to environment, but also energy. I mean, energy law is also a very good option to be pursuing at the moment. And that is a consideration, like besides the, the usual STEM careers, that I would 100% encourage young Namibians to pursue.
That's right. Dr. Shafudah, are you able to connect with us there? Hello, Doctor. Yes, Doctor. Sorry, I think the technology just threw the spanner into the works, but thank you so much for joining us back. Unfortunately, we are not able to reconnect with Mr. Mnyupe from Germany there, but of course we are wrapping up. You have been quite key in the issue of bursaries here in Namibia. For the longest time, we've seen our institutions really churning out students that are right now equipped with irrelevant degrees and programs that they would have studied. Do you think that the future is green, and this is where our young people should be focusing their studies on?
Yes. Can you hear me, Kevin?
I can hear you 100%, Doctor. Thank you so much.
Yes. First of all, we need to we must embrace the green future, because the climate is really very getting serious, and climate change is very serious. So, and for Namibia, the future is bright and green. Mm-hmm. So, for those of you who don't know about the Namibia Green Hydrogen Research Institute, visit us on the website so that you can see the programs that we are offering. So the institute is hosted at UNAM, and it's your institute so that you get the necessary skills to be capacitated so that you can be able to take part in the green hydrogen economy. Otherwise, if you don't have any skills, the companies that are coming, they are going to import those skills because they are going to think that Namibia is not ready for the project in terms of skill development. So we don't want such a case where jobs are going to be imported, but we rather want to build the capacity within our country.
That's right. Unfortunately, as we were just going towards the end of our program there, we lost Mr. Mnyupe, but we're trying to see if we can just rejoin, get him back on the program there. Mr. Mnyupe, are you able to connect with us? Let me just connect you right to the computer there. All right. That's right. Okay, just bear with us there. All right, there we go. Mr. Mnyupe, we really do apologize. The technology really let us down there. But maybe if we can give you this space to give us your final words. At the back of what Namibians have heard from the National Assembly yesterday, what would you want to tell Namibians in as much as this project is concerned in order to get their confidence?
Yeah, I think what I will tell the Namibian people is that what the government is trying to do to get this project going, this industry going, this economy going, is unprecedented in terms of the level of coordination that certainly government is putting behind delivering this thing. Now, some people are trying to find that as a criticism. It's not a criticism. It's perhaps an example of what is possible when we work together, not just as a government, but of course as well as a society. So all we're saying is, this is a big opportunity that Namibia can deliver, that the government can deliver to the Namibian people. The second most important thing is we are doing this in partnership with other nations from around the world, whether it's the Japanese, the Europeans, even the Americans, even people from Asia in terms of China are coming together. India is here saying, look, how can we participate? Either we have equipment, we have capital, we have the offtake. So it's a very global project, and Namibia cannot do it on its own. It's a very exciting opportunity, and so therefore I would encourage Namibians to start adopting a much more international mindset when it comes to we have to work with other people from other places around the world to build this project in Namibia. If we get this done, it will be very, very impactful in changing the trajectory of our country. The key thing here is this is not the only thing we need to do to, of course, achieve the objectives of Vision 2030. We need to do this well. We need to get our port container terminal going right. We need to do something about the tax incentives. We need to do something to look after our SMEs, and so on and so on and so forth. And this is why the Harambee Prosperity Plan, which by the way was of course as well informed by the recommendations of the high-level panel on the Namibian economy, which as well the president put together, all of those documents are trying to approach economic development from a holistic perspective, not pinning all of their hopes on just one project or just one industry. Kelvin, I hope that message lands loud and clear to your listeners. I'm personally very excited to work with all of them to make Namibia a better place for all of us and for our kids. Thank you very much for having us on your radio. I can't wait to come back with some more progress. By the way, just as I was going off, I know you mentioned all these loans and facilities that we were getting. Very, very important to note that the European Investment Bank 500 million euro facility is not yet a loan. It's a facility that's been provided for us. As you mentioned, we still have to negotiate. The 40 million euros from Germany, BMBF, was a grant. The 40 million euros from the Netherlands was a grant. The 5 million euros that was a component in addition to the 500 million euros, that is a grant. So in total, the Namibian government has mobilized almost 2 billion Namibian dollars. Kelvin, let's count it together. 2 with 9 zeros behind it in grants to develop our economy and to make these molecules. That is unprecedented. It's almost unheard of that we've been able to raise so much money for something that will be impactful not just for Namibia, but as well for others around the world. And that was one of the biggest jobs the economists gave us. Attract FDI into Namibia. We've done that in spades. Now we have to execute. And we cannot do that without you, Kelvin, and without your listeners, and without all of Namibia backing us. So let's get to work, but together.
That's all right. Let's get to work. That's the Green Hydrogen Commissioner, James Mnyupe, there from Germany. We really want to appreciate the time that you gave us there, Mr. Mnyupe. We apologize also for the technological glitch, but at least we were able to reconnect with you. Do have an awesome time in Berlin, and we hope to see you when you're back.
Excellent. Thank you, Kelvin. Hopefully I'll come back with a little bit more money for all of us back home.
That's right. We need a lot of that. Dr. Shafudah, if you're still there, I don't know if you're able to connect with us. All right. Seems like we just lost Dr. Shafudah, but of course we appreciate you, sir, and do have an awesome one. All right. So that's the conversation right here on the station. We are coming to the close, and Stefanie with us here. Stefanie, it has been quite a very interesting conversation and very thin layer of legality coming from your side there, and we hope to have you next time.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
That's right. The time is 3 minutes after 2 o'clock, and that's been the conversation all the way from 1 o'clock until 2 right about now. And, of course, my name is Kevin Chiringa. Of course, get in touch with us next week. Same time, same space, same continent. For this time, I say goodbye.
Listen.